Hello and welcome to VST Presents the Sports Telegram. As always, I'm your host, Arshavir Saryan, but today I will be handing off most of the host duties to Kenny Hodges, who's with me every week. He will be handling most of the duties as host, master of ceremonies, Mr. Geniosity. And joining us again, and we are hoping that it'll be every week from here on out this season, Kaylie Harden.
I'm here as long as my teams start winning because I want that jersey or whatever the mystery prize is at the end of the season.
Listen. Week one was amazing. It was an amazing week for me because I was perfect with my picks. But we'll get into that. We got plenty of time to get into that later. But what we're talking about is week one. Football is back. Football, the NFL, the National Football League, the league where they play for pay. We saw some interesting things. We saw some teams not look so great. We saw some absolute catastrophes that have ruined people's seasons and dreams of championships. But it was all it was interesting. It's always great to get the season back going. And without any further ado, let's jump into headlines from week one. I'll start it. It was probably the biggest headline of the entire weekend. The headline that I thought was the biggest, maybe the biggest story and the biggest development was obviously Aaron Rodgers going down for the New York Jets. As I've been telling my friends here, as a Jets fan, I got 5 snaps. 4 actual snaps from scrimmage, and the 5th snap was his Achilles. And just like that, our seasons, our dreams, our hopes seemed to go up in smoke. Scott Van Pelt was writing our eulogy at halftime because they sort of, I'm assuming if you're in the know, you kind of knew right away. I think they did. I forgot what the test is called, but there's a specific test that will give you right under the blue tent if they're worried if it's an ankle or an Achilles. I think it's called the Thompson test, where they kind of squeeze and see if your foot responds. And apparently there was no response, so they already kind of knew. So when they went and did the x-ray, that was all formality. They knew what was going on. The word got around the stadium. You could tell the announcers, the energy changed. Yet and still somehow we still found a way to win that game. Now, I don't think that changes anything for the rest of the season. We still got to rely on Zach Wilson, but it was a tough go. If you saw the viral pic that went on the internet, the most famous Jets fan, Mike Greenberg, sitting in his living room with a couple of his ESPN co-hosts sitting on his couch despondent. It was a tough night for most Jets fans. It was rough. I don't know what it means for us for the rest of the season. I guess we'll have to see. It won't get any easier this week. Now with Zach Wilson back under center, as we have to go to Dallas of all places. But we'll have to see how it all goes. What are your guys' thoughts?
I actually watched the video with the angle where you see the snap of the Achilles. Painful. But yeah, I have to commiserate with you. 5 snaps. For me, my moment was the block kick at the beginning of the Cowboys game. That set the tone. You know, you could pick a lot of different moments of the game itself, but that block kick, immediately we were just like, whoa, because New York was marching the field and blocked the kick and run it back for a tutty. I was like, all right, let's go. And off they went.
Yeah, and you could tell the vibe in that whole stadium. You know, it's week one. It's Sunday night football. It's a huge deal. Giants coming out for making the playoffs. There's so much expectations. Daniel Jones got all this money. Saquon, we know all the stories, everything that happened. They marched the ball down the field. I think they got a penalty that pushed them back a little bit to kind of ended that drive. And yeah, when to do, mind you, that's a guy I think you guys had just traded for him too from Miami. And this guy runs, and they block the kick. He takes it back, and you just felt all the air get sucked out of the building immediately. And yeah, it was a wrap from there.
It was. Now I will say, I was annoyed and frustrated that Dak didn't put up any numbers, but he didn't need to. This game was all about just chew the clock and get out healthy. By halftime, that's all it was, and so that was my moment.
So the pick, before we kick it to Kaylee, I got one question to ask you. So your owner and general manager went on Dallas airwaves yesterday and said that Dak Prescott is the greatest leader in the history of this organization. How do you feel about those comments? I mean, this is an organization that had Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman, and he said, no. Dak Prescott is the greatest leader of the history of the Dallas Cowboys. Is he an old man who has lost his mind, or is he trying to soften Dak up a little bit because those contract negotiations are coming?
Both. Both. Look, this team at number 8 lead them to 2 Super Bowls. You know, they had 88 on the sideline. You know, hell, even number 9 was an amazing leader. He just couldn't do it in the playoffs. So Romo, I mean, Dak is on the cusp of passing Romo, so I'll give you that. But you can't tell me he's a better leader than Troy Aikman was.
Yeah,
not yet. One Super Bowl might put him in the conversation.
And even if you go further than that, you had a guy who won you Super Bowls and was also an actual war hero. What's the leader of the Cowboys? So I don't know. Jerry Jones also said he doesn't like math if 1 + 1 = 3. So maybe we shouldn't be listening to that man anymore. All right, Kaylee.
Jerry Jones has also been quoted in a lawsuit against the NFL for being racist. So let's not pay too much attention to anything that man says.
I mean, yeah, he's somehow the slimiest man, but somehow also the biggest genius because he borrowed, begged, and stole his way to buying that franchise. I think he bought it for $106 million, and now they're worth, I think, $10 billion right now. They're the richest. They're the most valuable franchise in North American sports. So, hey, you know, sometimes the rich get richer. All right, Kaylee, you're up. What was your biggest headline?
I think we were all kind of biased to our favorite franchises this week because you guys already know what I'm gonna say. Because I already had my pre-celebration, but my favorite moment was watching the Browns kick the snot out of the Bengals and Joe Burrow. That was you know what? Because my whole life, which granted, maybe compared to some people watching this isn't been that long, but for at least the last quarter of a century, I've watched the Browns suck every year in, year out. And they don't just suck like outright. They're not just like outright a crap team. They'll get you excited every preseason. There'll be some hype. We'll have a new quarterback or a new head coach. Every year there's a new quarterback or a new head coach. And so going into this season with the whole Sean Watson nonsense, it's like, okay, what's really going to happen? Like, I'm crossing my fingers. I'm holding my breath. I'm hoping that it goes well. But at the same time, I don't have much faith. And even on the years where you think something's going to shake, they'll come out the first couple games and they might squeak a couple in the first few weeks. But then the rest of the season, it's fourth quarter heartbreak every time. They'll do good all game. The defense will hold. They'll play tough. And then they get tired or they think that there's only 3 quarters in a game and they blow the whole thing. And it's like that every single year. Every single year, even when we do win, it's like a fluke. And then when we don't win, it's like we were 3 points away. We're notorious for losing by a field goal. And this week, watching them win by 20 plus points, I think it was like 24-3. Yeah, that was really warmed my heart to watch. It was to the point where like I didn't have to watch the last 5 minutes of the game. I knew we were gonna win. You don't know how relieving that is to be able to be like, oh no, I don't actually have to be late to my brunch reservation. I can leave right now. I know the Browns won. Let's go. Let's go celebrate with some mimosas.
And here's what's crazy watching that game. It's amazing how sometimes you can throw history out of the window and it's just one team just owns a guy. And this is his Achilles heel. Joe Burrow is now, after losing this game, he is 1-5 as a starter against the Browns. They just own him. And then when you add on top of that, Jim Schwartz is now the defensive coordinator for the Browns. And I love that clearly his first order of business was, we're going to take our best defensive player, Myles Garrett, and you're never going to know where he's coming. They were lining this dude up at middle linebacker and just having him dance around in the front. He did something. I was like, this is just getting disrespectful now.
He is our elf.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And if that guy's an elf, I don't know. Like that, this like I told you guys the other day, we got magic, we got Lord of the Rings elves going on here because there was a point in the game where you knew it was just all about, it was disrespecting these guys because Myles Garrett is lined up at middle linebacker. He comes and he stands over the center and he starts doing his thing. I think you could probably find the video on Twitter because that's where I saw it. He's like doing like basketball. He's mimicking basketball crossovers. And then he just blows right between the double team and had Joe Burrow running for his life, throwing the ball away. And I'm like, this is incredible. Like they had no answers. They beat Joe Burrow up so bad that man went and got a haircut after the game because he literally said, when you get your ass kicked that bad, you got to change something. He literally went and got a haircut because when he showed up in the press conference the next day, it was noticeable because he was doing the boy band thing where he's wearing these headbands and he's got his little bangs hanging over the top. All of a sudden, he had like this crew cut, and they were like, "Oh, you got a haircut?" He's like, "Yeah." He was like, "I needed to change something in my life because that was crazy yesterday." That's how bad they beat that man. He literally went to Sports Clips and said, "Change it. I can't. I got to get this juju off me."
He also said that they've started a lot of seasons like this, and he's not too scared of having a good rest of the year. So I guess we'll see. He didn't seem too shook in the conference that I saw. So
yeah, well, you heard what Jamar Chase said. Beware of the elves because apparently there's some angry elves running around in Cleveland and they're coming for the rest of the league. All right. We're moving on.
That's us. We the dogs. The dogs. There's some angry dogs loose in Cleveland.
Oh, so let's move on to our favorite moments from week one. Obviously, we had a full slate of 16 games. There were a lot of things that happened. You go on social media, a lot of clips that go viral, a lot of things that happen. Arshavir, we'll start with you. What was your favorite moment or favorite thing that happens? I know it could have been homerism. You're probably going to pick something with the Cowboys or something with your other team, the Raiders. But what was a moment? What was something that stood out to you that you saw that said, boom, I'm glad football is back?
Well, as crazy as my weekends are and probably will be through the season, most everything's going to be, my favorites are going to be homer calls. Spoiler alert from here on out. My favorite actual is handing Sean Payton that L in his return to head coaching. Like I respect the hell out of Russell Wilson, but making him eat the L is great because it's a rivalry game and I hate the Broncos. So that's my favorite.
Hey, listen, not a bad pick. There were plenty of things, chuckle-worthy moments that came out of that game. That him with the gusto starting the game with an onside kick that failed. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what we're trying to do. You're trying to be Mr. Macho here. Like, oh, look what I'm doing. I'm going to change nothing. No, it didn't change. Nothing happened. Jimmy G came in there, spoiled your party. Oh. All right, Kaylie, what you got? What was your
My
favorite moment?
okay, so this was a nail biter, but I think it's why it was my favorite was still watching the Jets win after that Aaron Rodgers injury because I wasn't watching the game live as it was on. So I was just updating like my score every 5 minutes because I was on my phone and immediately I saw on social media the injury and I was like, "Oh, great. There it goes." Then I'm gonna have to hear about this from Kenny for at least 30 minutes of my week this week. So
Okay.
if we were really setting a timer, it might be longer at this point. But I'm not. The reason I'm not mad at it is because despite the amount of time I spent refreshing that score, I was really happy to see them win at the end.
So full
That was
disclosure.
it was like a weight off my shoulders. That one refresh that it came in final score, punt
So
return win. I was like, thank God.
so full disclosure. It was a roller coaster of emotions watching this game. I was sad. I was despondent. But then the way the defense was kicking Buffalo's ass, it was like, oh, okay. I'm stuck. Then it became like, oh, what could have been, right? This defense is playing awesome. What if Aaron Rodgers is here? Maybe we be having a 40 burger on them the way Dallas had one on the Giants the night before. And then the game goes, we get the lead, and Garrett Wilson makes that ridiculous catch that's going to go down as maybe the only catch in that stadium that can top the Odell Beckham catch when he caught that touchdown. And then we get the lead, and then they get the ball, and then they doink a field goal, like hits the upright and goes in, and it goes to overtime. And I'm like, I cannot do this. I need this night to end at that point. I still had to get on and record and talk to you guys. I'm emotionally spent. And that kick return, not only because it was a cool moment, because it was a kick return by a guy that was highlighted in Hard Knocks, who was like the 53rd guy. He was the last guy to make the roster. And he made the roster because he had the potential to be a special return guy. And when he took it to the crib, like I said, we're all friends here. I can admit some things. I can admit when elation leads to a blackout moment where you don't realize what you're doing. My wife is looking at me like I'm crazy because I am standing on top of my ottoman with no shirt on. I don't know how this happened. It was just pure elation. Pure elation. No shirt. I'm standing on my ottoman. I turn around. My wife's on the couch. She's like, get down. What are you doing? We just got this thing. Because it would just, I couldn't believe the fight that I had just saw. So yeah, I agree. That was a great moment. But I got one more. And it was a moment that my son brought to my attention because he's a Rams fan. So he's on Rams Instagram and Rams Twitter because it went viral. It went everywhere. And I feel bad for Geno Smith because any human being would have the same reaction if this thing happened to you. And there's a clip that went viral because obviously the hot mic's on the sideline so you can hear everything. There's a point in the game where Aaron Donald comes on a twist, and it just so worked out that it parted like the Red Sea, and he came from a position where Geno Smith couldn't see him at all. And imagine Aaron Donald just comes around a mass of humanity through, and it's just a highway has opened up straight to the quarterback, and this man is running full speed towards Geno Smith. And all you hear this man say, and you hear it pick up on the microphones, is, oh my God, as he throws the football away. And it sounds like he may have crapped his pants because his whole entire career flashed before his eyes. If you haven't seen the clip, folks, please, I implore you, go on Twitter, you go on Instagram, go on Threads, wherever you see highlights. It's everywhere of Geno Smith's life flashing before his eyes. And the hot mics catching him go, oh my God, as he throws the ball away because Aaron Donald is about to murder him with a free shot. It was the most humanizing moment I think I've ever seen on a football field because these are guys supposed to be big, tough guys, right? Quarterbacks, all these guys. But
he literally said, OMG, no.
Yeah, but the way he said it, you could tell it was literal crippling fear of, oh my God, I'm about to die. Because when he saw him coming, he just let the ball go, and you heard the cameras pick it up. And it wasn't even like a it was a legitimate, oh my God, I'm scared to death. So I felt bad for him. I said, hey man, we're all human. If Aaron Donald, if I went to my kitchen to get a cup of juice and Aaron Donald's running at me full speed, that's the exact same reaction that my ass is going to have. So I understand a quarterback having that same reaction because he might be the scariest man that ever played in the National Football League. So that was my favorite moment of week 1. Geno Smith crapping his pants as Aaron Donald's about to get a free shot on him. All right, so let's move it along. Let's look ahead to week 2. Obviously, now we've kind of ripped this Band-Aid off the season. We've seen some good performances. We saw some bad performances. We saw a lot in week 1. Now moving into week 2, we get our first official, even though the season started last Thursday, but we get our first official Thursday night game on Amazon Prime Video. And now we're moving into a Monday night where we get a doubleheader on a Monday night. So there's a lot of action around the league. The question I ask to you guys is, if you could pick a word or a theme of something that you're looking forward to in week 2, what would that word or the theme be? Arshavir, we'll start with you.
Off air, you mentioned something, and I was like, maybe, but it's early in the season, and so my word is going to be patience. That's the theme. Patience for everybody who's 0-1. Patience for everybody who's 1-0. Because, buddy, let me tell you, you're 1-0. You're not going 20-0. You're not going 21-0. I'm sorry. The 1978 Dolphins are going to be popping champagne again and again and again. So patience. That's key. Whether you 1-0 or 0-1 at this point.
Okay, I agree. All right, Kaylie, what you got? What's your theme? What's your word of the week?
Redemption. My word is redemption, because I think that week 1, yes, okay, it's a little shaky. Everyone gets a little cocky, I guess, in the preseason. And week 1 is humbling. It's very humbling. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are not giving up on their teams just yet. You might have abandoned all hope for the Jets after week 1. But there are a lot of people out there that think that this week was not a good reflection of, I think, everything that we've been anticipating after the preseason. So I think week 2 is all about redemption, specifically for the Bengals, specifically for the Chiefs. Those are the 2 that disappointed me the most this week. Or I guess not disappointed me, because I was happy that the Bengals lost, but their performance shocked me at how underwhelming it was.
Well, great minds think alike, because I think that my theme or my word for week 2 is sort of in lines, or is succinct in sync with how you guys have approached it. And my word is bounce back. And it's because week 1, there are a lot of expectations. Everybody's excited, right? Because everybody's in first place. Until we get to the end of week 1, everybody's in first place. But there were a few teams in particular that did not get off to the start that they would have wanted to, that I am looking forward to see how those teams bounce back in week 2. We knew going into the season, right? Justin Fields and the Bears are kind of figuring things out. We don't quite know what Jordan Love and the Packers are going to be just yet. Yes, we think the Lions are going to be good, but they could have just as easily lost that game as well as they won it. We know they're going to be pretty good, right? But I think everybody's in agreement that division is the Vikings to lose. And then you get a Tampa Bay team that you should have beat, looked like you were going to beat, and then somehow you end up losing that game. It makes you feel like the Vikings are still doing the same old things that the Vikings do. They're going to need a strong performance on tomorrow night, actually, on Thursday night, from when we're recording this, when they go on the road for their first game against the Eagles. And it's a game that, quite frankly, I'm not going to spoil if I pick the game or not. We'll get into picks in a second. But the Eagles are kind of banged up. They got guys not playing. If you go out there and lay a dud, I think people will lose patience, as Arshavir said, with how this team is starting again. Another team, the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen was butt cheeks. I'm sorry. That was terrible. I know as a Jets fan, I love the way that defense played, but you want to cover a Madden, homeboy. You can't go out there and be throwing picks up in the air like that. I know my defense is terrifying. I know DJ Reed said we have the potential to be the 85 Bears. We come at you in waves. Quentin Williams is unblockable. His brother Quincy Williams is right behind him, just running everything down like a hyena. But you got to play better than that. So it's going to be interesting to see how he bounces back. Same thing with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, boy, they just gave you 220 guaranteed large. Yes, I know. You wiping those tears away from week one with all those $100 bills they just stuffed in your locker. But you start 0-2, people are going to be starting looking at like, I don't know what this season is going to look like. The Chargers didn't play terribly, but they look like the same old Chargers down the stretch of that game against the Dolphins. It was the game of the week, but it's a game that we've grown accustomed to the Chargers losing every year. And if Justin Herbert and this crew are going to take the next step, you got to win those games when you play against other tough opponents. They can't come in your building and keep beating you. And the last team, the team that your Cowboys beat up, the Giants, man, you can't get wrecked like that. And now you're going to Arizona. You better win that game, because if you don't, boy, New York City is going to be all over Brian Daboll's behind. So that's my theme of the week. Bouncing back. Those teams in particular, I'm interested to see how those teams come back in week 2, and let's see what we do. All right.
Who do you think is actually the most likely to bounce back, though? Like, who do you really have faith in? Because some of those, I don't think Arizona's going to be an easy dub. I think Arizona wins that game.
That could be a tricky game for the Giants. If I had to pick one of those teams, I think I would say the Chargers, because they were the team that played the least terribly. You lose a 2-point game to a really tough Miami team. Ugh, it makes me from the inside of my mouth terrible to even say that out loud.
It doesn't feel natural.
But I do expect them to bounce back this week. They're going on the road to Tennessee. I think Tennessee is that quarterback isn't any good. I expect them to bounce back. I think they didn't play terribly, but I was just disappointed they didn't find a way to win that game. I think I would have walked away feeling a lot better about what the Chargers could do this year, or maybe having a chance to unseat the Chiefs if they would have found a way to beat that Dolphins team, and they didn't. So I'm worried that it's still the same old Chargers, even though you got a new offensive coordinator that I really like, but you still found a way to lose a game in the way you can't lose a game like that when the last time we saw you guys play, you blew a big lead in a playoff game against the Jaguars. That's not what anybody who cares about that team, the 10 people in Los Angeles who actually care to go to Chargers games, because that was a road game. That was a home game from Miami. That's another thing. You people, the Spanos family, go back to San Diego. Y'all, it's not working here. Every game you play is a home game for the team you're playing against. When the Raiders play you guys, that whole stadium is black and silver. It's like a Legion Part 2. Come on, man. Like, enough of that. But I digress. Speaking of bounce backs, my co-host needs some bounce backs in these picks, because your boy kind of cleaned up. I mean, listen, if we add their points together, I'd still be in first place. That's how good I did week 1. I'm just saying. Well, but I'm not going to pat myself on the back.
Careful. You know what happened in week 1? We saw a lot of disappointment. So
we did.
You might eat your words.
Maybe. We'll see.
Patience, my friend.
We'll
Patience,
see.
My friend. Patience.
So, with NFL week number 2 picks, if you weren't with us last week, I'll explain the rules again. We pick 4 games. The 4th game that we pick is our lock of the week. So that pick is worth 2 points. So all in all, you can amass up to 5 points in a week if you hit on all your picks, including your lock, like your boy did in week 1. Well, I got the full 5 points. My cohorts, they went 2 for 2 on their picks, didn't hit their locks. So they got 2 points each. They're tied for second. Your boys in first. Had the perfect week. 5 points, hit on all my picks. So now it's time to unveil our week 2 picks. Which one of you would like to go first? See, as the first place, man, as the guy who's in first place, I'm going to go last. but I'll give you guys the opportunity to pick which one you want to do your picks first. We'll do your regular. We'll do
I'm
your
excited,
regular
so I'm
picks
gonna
and
go
then save your
first.
lock for last.
Okay, I'll save my lock for last. But I want to go first. Okay, because I don't like when I go second on everything and then it looks like I'm stealing your guys' answers. So I want my credit. I want my credit when I go 4 for 4 this week.
Okay,
Hey,
all right, we got you.
I'll tell you this. Anybody who thinks that Kaylie's just piggybacking off of anything don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
We got your back.
Oh, appreciate it. Okay, so first I'm gonna go 49ers over Rams.
Okay.
49ers. And then I think the second one, I don't want to make that one my lock. Okay, I'm gonna pick Cowboys over the Jets.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay. I understand.
You knew it was coming.
Mhm.
And then let's do Chargers over Titans.
Okay.
And then my lock, and they better not break my heart. I'm gonna take the Browns over the Steelers.
Oh, okay.
That's a rivalry game.
Yeah.
It's also one of my best friend's birthdays. So that needs to be a win.
Hey, listen, and in my opinion, I don't think that's a bad pick. The Steelers did not look great in week 1. Yes, no one's going to look great against that Niners defense, but Kenny Pickett might not be healthy. And also, that Browns defense is legit. Hey, I like it. All right, Arshavir, you're up. Let's hear your picks for the week.
All right. I'm going to run through them. So Kaylee and I agreed on 2. Cowboys and Jets. I had that one. That Cowboys defense, I'm sorry. They're gonna eat your boys alive.
It be your own friends. They didn't even you can believe these two. They didn't even let the body get cold. They're already picking the carcass.
I'm sorry. That Cowboys defense is gonna eat the Jets alive. Speaking of defense, I got San Francisco dominating the Rams. Lions over Seahawks. I just did not like the way the Seahawks looked. And the Lions really showed me something, highlight-wise. Again, I'm thin on my time to watch all these games. My lock, though, is Miami over New England. So there's my 4.
Miami and Lions. Who would have thought?
All right. These are all good picks. And in full transparency, we agree on a couple of them. I did not pick against my own boys because I'm not doing it this week. I want to at least give them a chance to show that we still alive and kicking. So I did not agree with you guys with my Cowboys over Jets. I left it alone. I might agree that they're going to lose that game, but I'm not picking it. My first pick is aligned with both of you. I'm going Niners over Rams. That Niners defense is just now Bosa's got his money. They're firing on those cylinders. But what makes them dangerous is not just that defense. It's the fact that Brock Purdy is starting to look like he might be the real deal with Brandon Ayuk on one side and Deebo Samuel on the other side and Christian McCaffrey running all over the place. Christian McCaffrey in a short amount of time has established that he owns the Rams. And I think that game might get ugly in a couple of facets because the Niners tend to come and take over that building too whenever they play the Rams on the road. It becomes a Niners home game. Second pick, I'm aligned with Kaylee as well. I got the Chargers over the Titans. I think that this is a big bounce back week for the Chargers. And I really think Ryan Tannehill stinks. I don't think it's going to be long this season before either Levis or Malik Willis, one of those young quarterbacks, gets a chance to take the reins. It's a shame because it feels to me like they're gonna waste whatever's left of Derrick Henry. Because I don't think that quarterback can take them anywhere, even though they got DeAndre Hopkins. He had some interceptions last week that were just abhorrent. So I think the Chargers are gonna go in there and roll them. Third pick, I'm aligned with you, Arshavir. I also have the Lions beating the Seahawks for those same reasons. I didn't like the way that Seahawks O-line looked. I didn't like the way they played. And I think there's something to this Lions team. Aiden Hutchinson seems like he is on the cusp of becoming one of those guys that we have to put his name in that conversation with the Bosas and the Donalds and the Myles Garrett's of the world, because he was unblockable. He had a move in that Chiefs game. Go back and look it up. I'm sure you can find somebody clipped it and put it on social media, where he hit a spin one way and then spun back the other way. And I thought he busted both the ACLs on the lineman that was trying to block him. I think that he's going to have a field day, and I'm taking the Lions over the Seahawks. Now, my lock of the week. I really tried to scour the schedule because I didn't want – it was the one that popped up immediately, and I said, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But it was the one that made the most sense, just with my own eyes, what I saw from the week before. And I'm going to try not to make this a habit this year. And if I have to make it a habit this year, it means I'm absolutely miserable. And my lock of the week are the Dolphins over the Patriots. It pains me to have to pick the Dolphins for anything. But when I look at these two teams and I look at what the Dolphins did, and I also can admit that this pick is also a little risky, because as much as Dolphins fans reveled in Jets fans' misery over losing Aaron Rodgers, if they're honest with themselves, you're also a little scared in the back of your head that while Tua looked like an MVP, we're all worried what happens the next time he gets crushed. And it might happen in this game with Matt Judon, because nobody can block that guy. But all things considered, if he stays clean and he stays off the ground, no one can cover Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They might be the most dangerous wide receiver combination that we've seen in some time. And their defense is pretty good as well. So that's my lock of the week. So Niners, Chargers, Lions, and the Dolphins are my locks of the week. So I don't – obviously there won't be any separation because we've all picked similar games. But, yeah, it's going to be fun to see. You guys will still probably be chasing me after this week, but that's fun. You know, hey, listen, I'm just glad you guys aligned with my geniosity, and we're going to see how it all shakes out.
Honestly, I'm gonna keep the barbs away for this week, and I'm gonna thank you for running the hosting duties. It was fun actually being on the non-hosting side for once.
You know what? Hey, you know what? It was comfortable. It allowed me to do my thing that unfortunately you guys are privy to all the time when we planning meetings, and that's just having to have to deal with my off the wall and my pontificating. So who knows? Maybe this is the format we use for TST going forward, where I just kind of toss things up and to let you guys dunk it at the rim. Who knows? It kind of works. I like it.
Yeah, I liked it. It flowed. It had a good flow to it.
Absolutely. So, hey, as always, when it comes to the TST or whether it's our VST content, if you like what you hear, leave a like, subscribe. Like I said, especially with the Sports Telegram, feel free to jump in the comments. You want to talk smack? You're a Dolphins fan and you feel like getting cooked by me, go ahead and jump in the comments and say whatever you want about the Jets. Hey, if you're a Niners fan and you want to come at Arshavir about his Niners, if we got Bengals fans that want to come at, well, I don't know why you would, because I just clearly laid out that her team owns your team, but it's okay. We welcome any and all comments. We welcome the love. We welcome the banner. So please leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when these things go up so you can listen to them, because, hey, this is what we love to do. We love to sit here. We love to talk about sports. If you guys knew how much time we actually spent BSing around talking about this stuff when we're supposed to be doing other things, it's just great that we actually do this in listening form so you guys can be the flies on the wall and for these conversations. So thank you guys for listening. And until next time, peace.
See y'all next week.
See you soon. Toodaloo.